Welcome back. It's Janice from Fleurs. Today we are back in the studio and we are going to work on making a Bear Paw On-Point quilt block from my latest pattern release. And if you are unaware, I am a quilt fiber artist and pattern designer, and I have several different things that I've released, several different patterns, as well as classes and other workshops, mainly for youth, but I will be moving into like adult classes as well, so keep an eye out for that. But for today, we're going to focus on the Bear Paw On-Point, which I will link below. It's a really fun, simple kind of block that has a large central design, so it's great for large fabrics, which I talked about in the last video. If you didn't catch that, as I prepared the kits, which I also have a few limited kits available that will come with all of the background fabric necessary, as well as all of your prints for the paw and binding. So all you need to provide is the batting and something for backing. So I think that's really cool. If you want to make something very similar to what I'll be making today, you can just grab the cyanotype. Each one is a little bit different, and you can select which piece of the leaf print that you would cut from to make your blocks and your central point. So I'm going to pop you on the overhead and get started. We're going to put this together. You'll see it comes together really quickly. So it would be a fun one for a Christmas quilt too. If you put 4 blocks together, they measure 20 inches each. So very quick and satisfying to get a lovely Christmas throw or a gift for Christmas. So if you'd like to purchase the pattern, again, I will link it below. If you'd like to purchase a kit, that will also be linked. And let's get going. So to get started, I am just going to check all of my cutting chart, which is included in the pattern, and we'll have all of the instructions for you. If you order the kit, you'll already get the size of fabrics that are required to make one block, one wall hanging block. So that's easy enough. But if you're purchasing it, there's also a fabric requirements. You can use whatever from your stash, or you can purchase just for this. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And I'm going to speed this up because I think Okay, so here I am with my lovely cyanotype. Again, these are included, a few of them in the kit, but you can also make your own. And I faff about a little bit trying to decide what piece I want to use for my center and what large piece I want. But you can see I have plenty of fabric. And I even chose one of the pieces of cyanotype I didn't think turned out that well with too many leaf prints. So I was having a little bit of trouble choosing how to get started, but you will have leftovers if you purchase the kit. You could also use up stash to make this. I think that could be a lovely option. And if you already have half square triangles, when we get to that part, that would really save you some time. I really hate trimming half square triangles, but here I am then trimming up the sort of emeraldy, no, it's not really emerald green, whatever, this green color, aqua green color that I have for the other part. And it's really simple. You will have leftovers, like I said, so you can make more than one probably from the kit other than the background and the feature fabric, but you could reuse that and do something else with it. Always, us quilters need to build our stash. And then I had to use a little bit different background fabric than what I included because I used all of the background fabric that I purchased, so I didn't have enough to use to make my example. So I just used some similar gray from my stash to create and cut all of those background pieces. But this goes pretty quickly. And again, all of the cutting piece instructions are included in the PDF directions, so it makes it super easy. And if you want to work from stash only, it would help you to know how many pieces you will need of each thing, so you can try to decide if you're just like digging through your scrap bin. And the only really large piece that you need is the background, because we've got to make these very large background squares and then cut them into triangles that set our block on point. And the kit also includes that lovely binding fabric. Now I am drawing diagonals so I can make my half square triangles. I'm just doing all of that on the back of my background pieces, so they're all the same. And I'm going to match those up with the corresponding color pieces and pin them together. I'm not sure what I was looking at, something. And then we will pin them together. I just kind of pin on either side and line things up so that it doesn't wibble and wobble around while I'm stitching. But if you have that angle tape on your machine, this would be even easier. You could skip drawing the little lines. I should get that, but I don't yet have it. Anyway, stitching on either side of our center line, you can see I just chain piece, very straightforward, 1/4 inch away from that line. This one wasn't lined up. I have to redo it. And very lovely and quick. Putting the pieces together is the longest part of this block. It goes together really quickly. It's nice and big. It makes a huge impact. You spend an hour making a block, maybe. Depends on how fast you are, how many times you have to move the camera for YouTube. And then we're going to cut them all opened and we will have our pieces. And I like to press a little bit too, because you can see I didn't press here and then they got a little wobbly, but it's fine in the end. I'm going to press those all open so they're nice before I start trimming around for my perfect 4.5 inch half square triangles. So I just keep going around and working on that. And I'm lining up that center angle on my grid ruler, which really, really helps. So if you don't have something like that, I would highly suggest it if you're going to make half square triangles, or you can get a particular, like a smaller one. Mine is just really long, but it doesn't bother me to switch it around, but they come in all shapes and sizes. And if you are somebody that likes all that gadgety stuff, they certainly have it. But I just line up my line on the diagonal and then at one of the corners and make sure that it's going to fit the entire size that I need. So here, these are 4.5. So I'm just watching 4.5 on two sides and making sure that I have that diagonal line lined up, and then I rotate it and do the same thing on the other side. And you can see you're trimming off just a scant amount, but really neatening them up does make a difference to the accuracy of how your quilt looks. So if you feel like you're not getting a lot of the crisp lines that you see, I would say probably you need to take a little bit more time neatening your blocks. And then you can see I have a great little diagram that's included. So I'm just following that diagram and laying all of my pieces out. And you're going to see this comes together like lickety split. It's a high impact, low effort, which is, fabulous, especially if you want to make something for Christmas gifts or you want to make a seasonal thing, because, they're not going to be out all the time. So how much time do you want to spend on it? But there you go. There's the layout. And then it's just a matter of putting it together. You can see that I have that lovely diagram included for you that shows you which goes next to which and how to sew them together. There's a couple of recommendations on that. And that way, if you are watching a podcast or listening to a wonderful, or no, not watching a podcast, listening to a podcast or watching YouTube and you get distracted, or if you're like me, you're just daydreaming about something and you get distracted, you have a nice little chart there to remind you what you were supposed to be doing and where the pieces go, so that you don't have to pick open seams and redo things and thereby wasting your time. And I'm just lining that up. So I put some of the pieces together first so they fit along that larger block. And again, that suggestion is included in the cutting layout. And then you'll see, I'm going to put you on super fast forward, how quickly the next step goes till we have our big finished block. And here our lovely Bear Paw On-Point quilted block. You can see how big it is. It's 28 by 28 square, and I really love how all of the colors came together. This is the same color in the kit that I'm offering in my Etsy shop right now. That'll be linked down below for you. Or if you have patterns and fabric that you'd like to use from your stash, this could be very stash friendly. Again, I think it would make an amazing Christmas quilt. You could rotate them around if you would like to, and kind of have a more of a circular effect with your 4 blocks. But just 4 of these blocks combined, because they're so large, would make an excellent throw quilt. Again, it took me about an hour. I forgot earlier to share putting the corners on, but that's really, really straightforward, and that's all covered, of course, in the pattern. And you just get this lovely big block that is honestly the longest part is cutting out your fabric and then trimming down your half square triangles, which I find to be tedious, but if you enjoy that, or put on a simple podcast and kind of go to town. I used some of the kit. I used a different background fabric because I ran out, and I used one of the lesser saturated of my cyanotype, but I still think you get this lovely effect from the leaves, and I really am into the cyanotype right now. I love the wabi-sabi look of it, and the organic style that it brings, and I think it really shows off nicely in this block. So you could either make your own by purchasing the cyanotype dye and dyeing it yourself if you have a particular thing from your garden that you would like to memorialize. Or I have a few limited numbers of panels that I've created that would have come in your kit. And again, all of that information is linked down below. But I already pulled, you may see behind me, some fabric to do another one. And I've been hoarding this art gallery fabric for a few years because I never found a block that really showed off the bunny print very well. So I guess that's why I like to write patterns, because now I think I can use it in here, and then it's going to be like a bunny paw quilt instead of a bear paw. But thank you so much for joining me today, and I will include the link to the blog post if you prefer to read or have a few more details. And again, all the pattern is available in the shop, my Etsy, and the kit as well, and all of that will be linked below. So thank you so much for joining me to make a bear paw quilt today, and I hope you'll give it a try. Thank you so much, and stay creative, friends.